If you're moving to Oklahoma and the words HOA immediately make your shoulders tense up, you're not alone. So if you're moving here and you hear HOA, you're probably thinking like crazed lady with a clipboard, maybe fines for leaving your trash cans out for too long, or an hour-long HOA meeting about someone painting their house the wrong color of white.
No, your house is not cream. It is defiant beige. That shade blinds neighbors emotionally.
But here's the thing. Most HOAs in Oklahoma probably aren't operating in the way that you think they are. Some are genuinely helpful. Some are aggressive. And some, well, they barely exist at all. Today, I want to help you decide whether living in an HOA is actually worth it for you. Here's some quick context before we dive in. I work with a lot of people relocating from different places, specifically places like California, Washington State, and Arizona. So what I typically hear is either I absolutely refuse to live in another HOA, or I know they're necessary, or I'm not going to be able to get out of it. And in Oklahoma, you probably have more options than you think you do. So instead of asking, are HOAs good or bad, let's ask a different question. What kind of HOA is actually going to match the way that you live? Or maybe you don't need one at all, and we can find that too. Let's start with what HOAs are typically responsible for. In many Oklahoma neighborhoods, HOAs are going to be responsible for things like the common areas. Like if there's ponds, like behind my house, then the HOA, they take care of the ponds and mow around them, etc. No, they don't pick up the trash typically. Like we do that in the neighborhood. But you have to understand that the HOA is hiring a company who then, of course, hires people to mow. Are they being paid to pick up trash? I don't know. Probably not. So we have to keep that in mind. They're probably going to take care of the entry signage. So that means planting flowers and making sure nothing breaks and that there isn't weeds over the sign. Sometimes they're going to take care of walking trails, maybe playgrounds, and then there may be a community pool or a clubhouse. You're going to have to pay more for those though. So they're usually not going to police your daily life. They're not going to measure your grass with a ruler, and they're not going to tell you what color your curtains have to be. That being said, some HOAs are going to care that you keep your home maintained properly. Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? That's up to you. They're going to care about lawn maintenance, exterior maintenance. They may care about parking rules, like if you can park your car in your driveway or on the street. They also may care about storage buildings or fences. So the key difference is here that many Oklahoma HOAs are going to be a lighter touch than what you might be used to in places like California, Arizona, or Washington State, or any other place. Not all HOAs in Oklahoma are light touch, but many are. So it might be worth it to you to evaluate specific HOAs if you're interested in specific homes that are in them. There are real benefits. One of those is going to be neighborhood consistency. If you don't want your neighborhood to turn into 5 projects and a goat, then you may want an HOA. An HOA will help the neighborhood to be well maintained and rule out things like the unfinished projects sitting in people's yards. When you have an HOA, you're less likely to see extremes from one house to another. You may get easier resale with an HOA. Homes in these clean HOA kept neighborhoods, they can photograph better, they can appraise better. You can also get some pretty great amenities with your HOA, like pools, trails, and ponds. Like if you just had these things by yourself, you would have to take care of them by yourself and pay for it. But if you have an HOA, then everyone pools their money and then you take care of it. Unless, of course, you want to be HOA president, then you get to do everything. You also may have less of a neighbor roulette situation. So HOAs don't guarantee perfect neighbors, but they do tend to reduce the extremes. Now let's talk about the cons, places where people get burned. In HOAs, rules are rules. If you're the type of person who does not want to be told what to do, then an HOA is not for you. Even if the rule is reasonable or what other people would think is reasonable, maybe you think it's reasonable too, but you don't want to be told what to do. So then maybe an HOA isn't for you. You've got to understand that fees could change with the HOA. Most Oklahoma HOAs are extremely reasonable. If I see one over $400 a year, I start questioning, like, oh, is there something special that's here? The pool, maybe a magical playground, I don't know. But 400 and under is really common here for a year. Those fees can go up, like mine have gone up in the 4 years that I've lived in my house. And prices go up for things. So sometimes it's the HOA's problem. Like, their reserves aren't kept really well because an HOA has to have reserves, savings, just like any business. But then there's other things that come up, like maybe things weren't kept well to begin with. Maybe something was mismanaged. So you do need to do your homework on that. Most neighborhoods are going to have an HOA Facebook group, and you need to go there and take a look and do some FBI stalking. And it is fantastic stuff. Go do those things. An HOA may not work out for you if you want to customize your house, highly customized. So that could mean like workshops or doing special projects on the lawn. Anything that's kind of out of the ordinary, it may not jive well with the vibe of the neighborhood. Like if you want multiple trailers or you want an RV or a boat, maybe an HOA, maybe not. It just depends on the HOA itself. Enforcement can really vary in these HOAs, so you need to see how they're going to enforce things. A lot of HOAs are going to be very calm and logical. And if they're not calm and logical, then that creates quite a bit of friction for people. And even if their demands aren't over the top, if they have the wrong tone whenever they're delivered to you, it may feel like your home is not your sacred place. I have heard wildly varying stories about HOAs in Oklahoma. I personally don't mind mine. I think it's fine. We don't have a ton to take care of, and I think the lawn guys do a great job. So other stories I've heard, like recently, well, and there's quite a few of these, where the HOA is optional. So there was one recently where it was $35 a year, and they put an envelope on the door, and you could put money in it or not. So that's optional, but you know, I know what they're using it for. They're using it for some flowers and stuff, probably, maybe taking care of the front entrance gate. So if you don't like how that's being taken care of and you're not contributing anything, then maybe don't complain. And then I know of another HOA in Norman where they don't allow recycling bins, because like our city has recycling bins and they pick it up twice a month. But this neighborhood doesn't allow them. And I'm just over here wondering how the heck people recycle and if the neighborhood is really that against recycling. So from my experience, HOAs work pretty well for people who want like a low mental overhead, not a ton to take care of for themselves. If you like a tidy neighborhood, then an HOA might be for you. If you're great with shared standards, then you might love an HOA. And if you want shared amenities that you don't have to pay for completely, then you might also love an HOA. HOAs are for people who value predictability because there are rules, and if they're managed correctly, then it's a very predictable situation. They tend to not work well for some people. If you want total autonomy on your property, they are not going to be for you. If you are planning heavy customization on your property, don't move into an HOA. If you want to use your property in a non-traditional way, don't move into an HOA. As you may have guessed, I am a real estate agent here in Oklahoma. I have lots of videos outlining different differences in Oklahoma that you may or may not know about. And I would love for you to watch those videos. You can find a playlist here. I will leave it up top for you. And of course, if you need help in your move to Oklahoma, you will find my information at this code. So before you commit to an HOA, here's what I recommend. Check monthly dues and past increases. Check the rental rules for both long-term and short-term rentals. You may not want to rent your house out, but you need to know what's going on with the neighborhood. You need to understand parking and storage rules. You need to understand the fence and the outbuilding rules, and also how all of these rules are enforced. This is where a good agent earns their keep, by the way, so communication is always best, and you want your agent to understand these things about the properties that you're looking at. So is it worth it to live in an HOA in Oklahoma? Maybe, or maybe not. If you're relocating and trying to figure out what actually fits your specific life, you need to do some research. If this was helpful or you've got HOA stories that you want to share with me, please do that. I'd love to hear them. And if you want help sorting through HOA versus non-HOA properties, then you know where to find me.